Aston Villa 0, Manchester United 0, and a game which was eagerly anticipated by many and predicted to be a bloodbath turned out to be an absolute bore fest and without a doubt a waste of a Sunday afternoon. Genuinely speaking, it was awful from both teams. And I don't know which set of fans should be more pissed off. Neutrals who wasted their Sunday afternoon, Villa fans who played a poor Manchester United team and couldn't replicate their performance against Bayern Munich and probably one of their worst performances of the season so far at home, or Manchester United fans who had to sit through absolutely awful football yet again. And considering Villa weren't that good, this was the perfect opportunity to play a team which many have given a lot of respect. If there was ever a day to beat Aston Villa, it was today, but Manchester United obviously weren't up to the task, and I don't really know where to start apart from looking at that starting 11. Honestly, what an awful 11. And I know that there will be some Manchester United fans trying to look for positives and will tell me to stop being so negative because at the end of the day, Maguire and Evans actually had a pretty good game, so I don't know what you're so mad about. That's precisely the problem. It's 2024. We are 3 months, or just under 3 months away from 2025. And Manchester United's starting centre-backs is Maguire and Evans. That's who we're relying on to get points away from home against Aston Villa, after a manager has spent nearly £700 million. How is that acceptable? How are people letting this slide? How on earth is it acceptable for a manager to drop 2 starting centre-backs, which he brought in, Martinez and De Ligt, for Evans and Maguire? I get that they had a good game, but is this sustainable? Is this not the same defence that started last season when we finished 8th? It doesn't make any sense. And I'm meant to what? Praise Maguire and Evans as if they're our saviours, as if we've made a new revelation or found out something new. This is nothing new. Evans has been one of our best centre-backs for a while, and that's not a good thing. Evans is coming close to retirement. It is not a good thing that he's one of Manchester United's best centre-backs. It is actually a reflection of how poor our team is. And yet people are celebrating it as if it's a good thing. It makes genuinely no sense. Now, again, they had a good game, but that's besides the point. We still weren't good enough as a team. Our front 6 was awful. It was absolute suicide to start that midfield 3 today. And he's lucky that Aston Villa were not on it because Bruno Fernandes was awful. Christian Eriksen just had a meh performance. It was a nothing game. I didn't really notice him, to be honest. And Kobe Mainoo has been struggling for a very long time. And this is an uncomfortable conversation for a lot of Manchester United fans because a lot of Manchester United fans, including myself, have gassed this guy up to a level where it's like he is nowhere near that level at the moment in terms of his performances. And he's being played out of position. On top of him not being in the best of form and just being a young player, being inconsistent, which is what you expect of young players, he's also being played out of position. He's been asked to play in a double pivot with Christian Eriksen, which is absolutely insane. If Aston Villa were actually anything near what they were against Bayern Munich and what they've been so far this season in terms of the level of performances, we would have been in trouble today because there were so many opportunities where they entered our box. And if it weren't for Maguire, Evans and Diego Dalot, we would have been on toast today. Absolutely on toast. It is not sustainable. It is not sustainable at all. Rasmus Højlund was awful. And to be fair to him, it's not like Xerxes was much better when Xerxes came on as well. And I'm a fan of Xerxes. I like Xerxes. I've seen some good things from Xerxes that I think make him a little bit more useful than someone like Rasmus Højlund, but they were both awful today. In fact, you could argue that Højlund was better because Xerxes really didn't do anything. At least I saw Højlund do something in the game, to be fair to him. Rashford and Garnacho, they were good defensively, but again, this is not something I'm going to overly praise because it's something they should have been doing from the beginning, especially Marcus Rashford. For weeks, months, possibly years, we've been talking about the defensive deficiencies of Marcus Rashford and how he doesn't track back, he doesn't work hard enough, and he does it for one game, and suddenly we're supposed to praise it. Suddenly we're supposed to act like we've made a new revelation. I'm sorry, I'm not buying it, because he's just going to be back to the way he was after the international break, as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to need a lot more than just one game to start praising a player who's been poor defensively and going forward for such a long time. It is absolutely criminal that those two started in a front 3 with Højlund today. When Amad Diallo's there, he's on the bench again, getting benched in a big game. We lost 3-0 to Liverpool, we lost 3-0 to Spurs, and now we've drawn to a Villa team that is probably looking the worst they've looked all season. And Amad Diallo didn't start in any of those games. How many times are we going to hear the excuse of, pacing behind? That's why Amad isn't starting, because, we need to be a little bit more pragmatic considering how good the opposition is. Really, how well is that working then? How well is that pragmatic approach working in these big games? It is pathetic that in year 3, after spending so much money, your best plan against Aston Villa, against Liverpool, against Spurs is to sit back and hit him on the break. It's pathetic, especially when you've signed a team full of ball-playing players. Onana, ball-playing goalkeeper. Mazraoui, ball-playing defender. Delo, which he quite likes, ball-playing fullback as well. Mazraoui, Martinez and De Ligt, ball-playing defenders. Euro, ball-playing defender. This guy has signed so many people who are known for their ability to play out from the back, and yet he wants to play hoofball. It makes no sense, and people will still find a way to defend this guy because we got a draw today. They will still try to see the positives. There are no positives at this point in the season. I'm sorry. There just aren't any. Not any worth mentioning anyways, in my opinion. Just looking at the league table, Manchester United are 14th going into the international break. We're 21st in the Europa League, if I'm not mistaken, as well. Still with a negative goal difference and a neutral goal difference in the Europa League. Negative in the Premier League, neutral in the Europa League. Absolutely awful. But yeah, I've got nothing else to say, man. He should be sacked. He should be sacked. I mean, I've been saying he should have been sacked after the FA Cup final anyways. So this isn't me being reactionary. This is me being consistent. I've been saying that this guy should have left on a high. You know, you even had his friend before the game coming out with the quotes, not before the game, but this weekend, coming out with quotes saying that he advised Erik ten Hag not to continue after the FA Cup, just leave on a high. When a friend of yours, a lifelong friend, according to these reports, is saying that, it is pretty damning. And then you've got him arguing with Ruud van Nistelrooy in the touchline today. And look, I'm not a body language expert, and I know a lot of people are pretending to be body language experts on Twitter, but we're all human. And we can all see when there's tension between two human beings. And that argument, these little things that are seeping into Erik ten Hag's tenure at Manchester United are just adding to the stew, the toxic stew that is brewing at the moment as he looks towards the door. And honestly, with that lineup, I'm not going to lie to you guys, for me, it looks like he was waving the white flag. That's what I thought when I saw the lineup, and I'm not surprised by today's performance one bit, because Villa, despite being poor, was still the better team. And that says more about how bad Manchester United are and less about how good Aston Villa are, because if they were serious and they had their shooting boots on today, we could have been toast. But if buts and maybes don't count in football, we can only talk about the facts and we can only talk about what actually happened. And what actually happened is that both teams were poor. An absolutely criminal performance by Manchester United. Wasted Sunday afternoon, 90 minutes of my life that I will never get back. Thank you so much, Erik ten Hag.